Hey guys, what's up? So today I want to go over chapter 23 of Genesis. Hopefully I can give you the best breakdown that I can, pointing out specific parts of the verses that I think are important and lend a hand to your psychology. So yeah, let me begin. I just want to say again, for anybody new, I do not believe the Bible is literal. I don't think Jesus exists, and I also don't think Muhammad exists, or Krishna, or whatever the Jews believe, Abraham. I don't think anybody existed. All I think is that this was created so you have dogma and feel guilt, shame, and lack for your entire life, and you always wait and hope for a savior to come back, when in reality, the God within you that is supposed to come back is exactly that. God is within you. He's hiding under your nose, and you don't really recognize that until you have your own awakening through an ego death. Not a literal death, but when the old version of you, the old way that you used to perceive reality, dies. Because when you understand that you're far more than just a three-dimensional being bound to the physical plane, you understand you have a spirit, you have a consciousness, and with a focused mind, a focused attention, you can create manifestations in your life, okay? I've manifested men to come up to me and ask me if I was married because I set an intention to find a person to marry. I am not married because I see how powerful your intention setting can be, right? I also set the intention for other things in my life, to heal, to lose weight, to do different things without needing to do anything externally. And these things 100% happened. I can explain it in other videos in different ways, but I have earned so much conviction in my reality through trial and error and being the conscious creator, and really understanding the subtle nuance of what being a God really is. There's a lot of manifestation coaches online, and I will never call myself that, but there's a lot of people online that try to sell you a course. They try to give you all these techniques. In my opinion, the one surefire technique that will always work across the board is you fucking being conscious. Sorry, that kind of slipped out, but but it's very true. That FU, not FU, but like that hard F there came out because there was so many false teachers I had to come across in order to understand that me falling asleep to my divinity and waking up to it is the best way to learn how to be a God, right? You have to practice consciousness. You have to be conscious. You have to set intentions, and you have to not let lose sight of them, right? So I can explain it in 100 different ways why I believe what I do, but I'm strongly convinced that scripture has given me significantly more conviction that what I'm saying is true because I practice what I preach, right? So I want other people to wake up to their consciousness, and I just genuinely enjoy scripture because this is the one thing that really made me understand how to be a God on earth, not somebody's manifestation course for $29.99 a month, okay? So I'm not discrediting them. Maybe they've helped you, and God bless if that truly is the case. I wish everyone nothing but success, but I also want people to really not get taken advantage of for their curiosity and trying to understand consciousness, because it really is a gray area. Not many people can explain it well. I'm not saying I do, but I like to provide information in a way that allows you to discern for yourself. I don't really want to work on your emotions or provide any gimmicks. I just show up, I turn my phone on, and I talk for an hour about what I think the Bible is about. So thank you for bearing with me if you've been here before and are tuning in again. And if you're new, thank you for giving me this opportunity to explain to you why I believe what I believe. So without further ado, I'm going to begin. So chapter 22 of Genesis was when Abraham was about to sacrifice his son Isaac. I do not believe that that's literal. What I believe is that it shows you have detachment to the physical plane. Isaac was incredibly difficult to manifest. He was incredibly different to give birth to because Abraham's womb was barren. Sarah was barren. She could not conceive. But then at 90 years old, somehow she could conceive, even though that's beyond menopause. So when you look at that from a literal lens, does that make sense? No. So what could it possibly mean internally, right? And it's when you finally understand your spirit, which is your feminine nature, which is Sarah, and you really impregnate the idea that you have in mind to create your reality, your womb will finally conceive the promise, Isaac, okay? And when you finally give birth to Isaac, you'll start laughing because you're like, oh my God, my fourth dimensional realm, what I gave so much attention and focus on, like, let's say wanting to manifest perfect health, with time, eventually that became you. Your hair started growing back, your skin started clearing up, you had more energy, you started sleeping better. And I say that because this is something I had done to myself. My hair hair is growing incredibly long, and I am doing nothing different than I had done in the past. If anything, I have been completely the opposite of being a very healthy diet, which is something I would do in context to what I perceive health is, and I started putting in junk food again, right? And I don't recommend this to somebody who doesn't know what I'm talking about, but you genuinely give life force to what it is you assume will happen to you if you eat a particular thing or drink a particular thing. I've completely negated the impact of caffeine from my biology. It does not affect me anymore. Where 2 years ago, if I was to drink a cup of coffee after 10 a.m., I would be so awake and so jittery and have insomnia at night. I couldn't rest at all. I would be so restless because the fear of having a stimulant in me at beyond a certain point of time was something so ingrained in my psychology, it became my reality. I told myself I would never get healthy, so my body started showing me symptoms that were not treatable from 7 specialists that I had visited over a course of years, spending thousands of dollars that went to shit, right? It's because your mind is so powerful. When you decree a thing, it has to come to pass. So Sarah was able to conceive because she finally saw that she was a spirit, and that's what happens to you. You will birth your Isaac or your promise or your manifestation when you genuinely live in the wish fulfilled and you do not waver, right? So that was chapter 22. And then at the end of chapter 22, I think his name is Nahor, Abraham's brother, eventually within his lineage gave birth to this chick named Rebecca, who Isaac will then eventually marry. When you look at that, just something to point out again as well, Abraham has a brother named Nahor, okay? So there's 2 brothers, right? Rebecca's uncle is Abraham, and she is going to marry his cousin, right? Yeah, she's going to marry her cousin. So you see how there's an extreme amount of incest in the Bible, okay? It's like, oh, my uncle has a person of age, of similar age to me, and they're the opposite gender. Let's just marry this bloodline. Nothing can go wrong there. You know what I mean? So you really cannot take this literally, because honestly, I think a lot of religious extremists will use that to their advantage and be like, oh, well, it's in religion, so of course my son can marry my brother's daughter. It's like, no, man, that's creepy. And if that actually made you more spiritual, why is your family more effed up than ever? Why is your religious community more exiled than ever, hating the other religious community that is of an opposite belief? I don't know if you know this, but hate is the opposite of love, and God is love. So if you're practicing hate, you ain't religious because you're being satanic, right? Regardless of what your God is, okay? So that's why I get like kind of fed up with the whole contradictions here, because nothing adds up, nothing makes sense, and people do not question it. And if you're watching my content and you're into what I'm saying, clearly you're aware of the perspective that I have. I'm just speaking about the people that are so delusional and dialed in on their belief being true, when really the only truth of reality is what you give meaning to something, right? Like me having to assume calories exist keep me in bondage to macros. But when you see beyond that, you can lose weight regardless of what caloric intake you have, regardless of what macro profile you ingest. Why would I know this? Because I'm doing it. Like it's absolutely insane when you see what your body can do when you genuinely delete everything you've ever learned and observe the way you judge yourself. And you have to keep showing up. You can't just do it once and be like, I'm living in the wish fulfilled, and then contradict yourself throughout the day. This is at a subconscious level. This is why a lot of people aren't successful in manifestation, because they do not see what their subconscious beliefs are, even though they think they're being conscious, right? The subconscious is referenced by the moon, and the moon only comes out in the dark. You don't really see in the dark well when you're not illuminating yourself in that space. You have to be constantly vigilant of what your beliefs are. So anyway, maybe I'll like do that like cheating the macro system or calorie system as like a different video, because it's very sincere. I'm not just saying that for clickbait, and I'm not saying that to get your attention. I really do believe health is also based on the mind and the mind alone. Depending on how firmly you are living in the wish fulfilled in your mind, I can't see how it wouldn't work, because that's the universal principle of how manifestation works across the board. So I'm very open to that idea because I see it working in my favor. And it's just like, well, if consciousness is the first hermetic principle, right? What is it? Wait, let me look it up, right? The first law is mentalism. Here, wait. Oh, the universe is mental. That's what it is. Sorry, I didn't even get to finish asking my question. But yeah, the Hermetic principle is the universe is mental. So if the universe is mental, then obviously we should take that for what it is. It's mental, meaning it's consciousness. So anyway, that was a huge ass tangent. Sorry about that. Thought this was going to be short. We're already 10 minutes in. Whatever. Let's see how this goes. So chapter 22 is about Abraham sacrificing Isaac, and it's not. It's the ultimate lesson of detachment. If you're willing to let go of the thing that was so hard for you to create, it shows you have detachment. And in the manifestation community, when you are indifferent towards of receiving the outcome you want, typically that's when it happens. Most people, when they're trying to get pregnant, they try, they chase, they physically do so much. They eat well, they watch their cycle, they get the husband to eat well, they plan the specific day, time, what, like they force so much thought process and physical execution that they think that their hormones are just shitty. But meanwhile, when they're just chilling on vacation and their mind is not focused on getting pregnant, you conceive. Why? Because you're not looking for it. You're not chasing it. You're not thinking you have to do something outside of yourself. Truly, manifestation starts within. So when you show you have detachment, you get what it is you want. You can literally conceive, okay? But that's not just for pregnancy, obviously. A child in allegory in scripture can be seen as the ultimate manifestation because it is your physical creation, but it's a metaphoric creation as well. Your judgments against yourself are your creations, right? Do you think you're beautiful or do you think you look like a monster? Both of those things are your children, okay? You assigned importance to it depending on how much you fixated on it. And then that will become your reality. Why do I know that? Because I've done that to myself. Like my headspace had been very, very dark for a long time. But when you wake up to your own crap, quite frankly, and you address yourself, why do I think this? That's when you really have the awakening, right? The resurrection. You have an observer questioning your judgments. And as soon as you have an observer questioning your judgments, that is the light permeating in your subconscious, being like, am I really these beliefs? And the more you are the observer, the more you are your spirit, you embody the God that you were meant to become on this earth. So with all that being said, after all of that, right, Abraham showed he was detached. Oh my God, he finally has a kid. He was okay with lighting him on fire, and God was like, whoa, buddy, don't do it. His entire story took so many chapters, and now we have chapter 23, verse 1, Sarah dies. Boom. Like, what? This is just something I love to point out because it's like, if this was to be referenced in terms of a timeline, right, like if this was genuinely something that has like specific concrete facts, if there genuinely is like a birth and a death profile for every character, if there was clothing left behind, if there was the city in which they dwelt in and it's a fact, why the hell is this story timeline so fucking all over the place? Like Sarah conceived Isaac at 90, even though I don't believe that's literally 90, but let's take it there because that's what religious people do. She's 90 years old, and now at 127 she dies. What happened for those 37 years? What chunk of the Bible was not included in that? Wouldn't you think a shit ton happens in 37 years? It's not like I black out nearly 40 years of my life. You have to be incoherent or have severe trauma to do that. So it's like, where is this chunk of the Bible? These characters are significant. Abraham is the leader of the Jews. What the fuck happened to his wife for nearly 40 years that we don't know anything about her, right? So it's, again, sorry for the F-bombs, but like, it's true. Like, it becomes so silly when you read this and you're like, if these people are so important, why are their timelines so haphazardly documented? Like, this is insane. So anyways, just another thing to point out that makes you think. And Sarah was 107 and 20 years old. These were the years of Sarah's life. So Sarah was 127 years old when she passed away, yeah? So when you have the number 127, you have 127. Sarah is the divine feminine. She represents your spirit. 1 in numerology, I would argue, is God or logos. It's essence. Think about the story of creation, or at least Adam. Adam didn't know he was naked until he had a dual figure that tempted him with an apple. All that meant was as soon as the dual nature showed up, intelligence was introduced, okay? And as soon as you have intelligence, that means you have a mind. Adam was originally the spirit, but now it's a dual nature, and they have to leave Eden because now they're having a human experience. And that's really it. So when you're one, when you're Adam, you are spirit. When you are two, right, 1, 2, 7, 127, when you have a 2, you are dual. You're a mind, you're a spirit. When you have 7, that's spiritual intervention. When you wake up to seeing you have a dual nature, you're like, holy crap, I have a spirit and my mind was just on autopilot, creating my day-to-day life based on my judgments, and I had no idea. And the answer is yes. Similar to like how I had said before, if you think you're ugly for a significant amount of time, people are going to come up to you and have to confirm that to you. They're going to say your haircut looks funny, you look tired, that doesn't look nice on you, all of these things, because they're just a reflection of your inner dialogue. But if you grew up with the belief that, no, I'm so beautiful, and trust me, this has nothing to do with looks, okay? I've looked like a dumpster fire going into one of my local grocery stores, and I had the kindest man stop me and say I was beautiful. It's not because I was dolled up. Trust me. It's because of my inner dialogue. What was I telling myself that day? I was practicing manifestation. I walked into that grocery store and I was like, I am the most attractive person here. Try it. It's not narcissism. It's claiming what you want your reality to be. If you want to be the most attractive person in the room anywhere you go, you claim that identity and you do not forget it. You do not saturate your subconscious. And as soon as you really dial in on this and you see it get reflected back to you, that becomes your reality. And when you see the magnificence of your power, you have a spiritual awakening. You have the 7, because now you know how to use your mind in context to your spirit. You think beautiful thoughts, which is the masculine principle, and you live in the wish fulfilled, which is the feminine principle. Now you are balanced yin and yang. Now you are balanced feminine, masculine in totality, right? So Sarah dies at this age because it shows the story of completion, right? She was a spirit. She had the mind and the spirit integration, the dual nature. Spiritual intervention happened because she mastered this. She birthed Isaac. And she passes away because this isn't actually passing away. This is just completion. 1 + 2 + 7 is 10. And 10 arguably again is the completion of a cycle. And as soon as you get rid of the 0, because it's numerology, you're at the beginning of a new cycle. And Sarah gets buried in a cave. It's not actually getting buried in a cave and left there. What it is permanent integration in your subconscious, because the cave is a dark place you don't ever want to go when you don't know what's in it. But when you face your cave, you look at your subconscious, you see all the negative beliefs, you see all your judgments, you see all the dark night of the soul baggage that used to haunt you, and you clean the cave out, you can finally bury Sarah there. So that's taking your spirit and it's burying it in your subconscious. It's living in the wish fulfilled and making it your actual state of awareness, of being, right? This is her final resting place, because this is Abraham permanently integrating the spirit into his mind. Right? And when you permanently integrate the spirit into your mind, you do not waver, okay? This is like you saying you're always beautiful and never forgetting it. People throughout your entire life, congratulations, will be at awe of how gorgeous you are. Male or female, it doesn't matter. It does not matter how much you weigh, what you look like. Someone will compliment you every day saying, holy shit, you are fine, okay? And it's because of your self-talk. And you don't have to do anything physically. If it makes you feel better, you can, because again, feeling implies the feminine nature. You're using tools to your advantage. If I feel this, I'm living in the wish fulfilled, and then it'll get mirrored back to you, right? And this applies for everything. It applies for wealth, relationship, health, everything across the board. The idea of a focused attention in any pocket of what it is you want to create, whether it's finance, relationship, whatever else, all the same. It's not like there's a different tool you need to get to do it. It's just a focused attention and knowing that you do deserve that thing. You do deserve a loving relationship. You do deserve wealth. You do deserve to look beautiful. You do deserve to be accepted, right? You do deserve to have purpose. And when you tell yourself, I have purpose, I found my purpose, you will find it. When you tell yourself, I have a beautiful friend group that accepts me, you will find it. Why do I know this? Because I've done it for myself. Okay, and I'm not saying that to be a narcissist. I'm saying it because why would you listen to anybody say something when they're not the ones doing it? you know, and again, I don't want to have a tone. I want to show you that you can do this for your life as well and be better than I am at it. Not that I'm even great, you know, but I'm a lot better than I once was in the past, and I wouldn't trade my awareness for anything now that I know what it is. So we have verse 2, and it says, and Sarah died in Kirjatharba. Look at that name. The same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And Abraham came to mourn for Sarah and to weep for her. So Kirjatharba means city of the four. Sorry, I have a water burp. There we go. We're better. So Kirjatharba means city of the four. And Hebron means to join or to unite. And Canaan means to be humbled. So there's a lot of places going on here. So let me just say it one more time for myself and to hopefully better explain it for you. And Sarah died in Kirjatharba. So this means Sarah died in the city of the four. The same is Hebron, which means to unite, in the land of humbling. So when you die in Kirjatharba, right, because you essentially are Sarah, your spirit is Sarah. When your spirit dies in Kirjatharba, the city of the four, what does that mean? City, in my opinion, means consciousness. In Hebrew, Kirjatharba just alludes to four. So when I look at four, I look at that in context to your inner world, and I apply that to your fourfold nature. You are a mind, you are a spirit, you're a body, and your emotions. When you master these things, you die in the city of the four because you integrate it, right? You go from analyzing it as a literal concept that you're trying to understand and like integrate in yourself. But when you genuinely immerse yourself in Kirjatharba, you understand your mind, your spirit, your emotions, and your body for what they exactly are, right? When you control your emotions, when you control your mind, you dictate your body on what it is you want to do because you are a master of your spirit. Okay, you see the fourfold nature. That's also why there's 4 houses in the Harry Potter thing, right? In Hogwarts. There's Slytherin, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, and Gryffindor. And these represent aspects of your fourfold nature. Similar to north, south, east, and west, right? Those are directions, fourfold nature. You have totality. Also, just a cool side note, north, south, east, and west, when you look at that, it the beginning letters, it spells news. And it's because when you're aware of what's happening all around you, you have the news of your area, okay? So, and when you're aware of the north, the south, east, and west, you got the whole Times, what's it called? New York Times, right? You have the whole newspaper. From what I understand, that's where the word news came from. So when you're integrating yourself with your fourfold nature, which means you just understand yourself as a God on earth, you understand the physical realm and your inner realm, you unite yourself, which is Hebron. The same is Hebron in the land of Canaan. You unite yourself when you go through a process of Canaan or humbling. To understand what I'm talking about, right? Integrating and like understanding that you're a God on earth, it is not an easy walk in the park. There's a lot of spiritual teachers, from what I understand, that went through a lot of hell to start being able to question, why do I judge myself like this, right? Like I remember when I was reading Eckhart Tolle a couple years ago, he was like sitting on a park bench and like, I think he was like homeless or something. And then one night, maybe it was after, he actually started enjoying sitting on a park bench and like feeling good about it. But like before he felt good about his life, he was sitting in his bed completely suicidal. He was like, I just hate myself so much or whatever. And then out of nowhere, this random thought came in being like, who's saying that? You know? So really it takes that rock bottom of getting that low in your life to recognize it. And if you know what I'm talking about without having to get that low, congratulations. Like I'm so happy for you. For myself, not to get too personal, but it really did get to that point for me as well in regards to health. I was like, I really don't care if I'm alive anymore because it is so painful to live every day not knowing what's physically wrong with me. And after exhausting all physical, practical, literal things that should have healed me, right? I got blood work, CAT scans, MRIs, doctors poking and prodding me buying new supplements, getting like the gut microbiome tests, and to no avail. My hair was falling out, my skin was getting so dry, I was so tired all the time, I felt anxious, I was angry, and I really recognized that, oh my God, my thoughts of assuming something was wrong with me, the anxiety of being a human being and graduating from college and becoming an adult and moving out, and like, and it just was so overwhelming to me that I shut down and just created my own illness, right? But when you slow down your thoughts and you recognize that they are not you, your body can definitely heal. I brought this up before, but the concept of voodoo, it's no different, right? People who believe in voodoo will cast voodoo spells on each other or whatever. And when you believe in that culture, you're gonna probably get cursed, if not die, right? But if somebody in the voodoo culture was to come up to me and be like, "You're voodooed," I'd be like, "Great, where's the coffee? I wanna enjoy my weekend." You know, it wouldn't even faze me because my psychology is in a parallel universe, all right? We are 8 billion gods living in the same world. Those are 8 billion universes you can interact with. And that's how I feel like, to an extent, jumping timelines can be like. If you see a homeless person on the street and you are nowhere in that vicinity of like being impoverished, if you get influenced by that as a subconscious impression, you can become that person. That is an opportunity. Same with a billionaire, right? It's not out of your potential. This is a parallel universe of possibility. So that's what I really think parallel universes are. It's just, what do you want to experience here, you know? And it doesn't have to be hard to get anything. I think really, like, as another example, sorry, I'm hardly getting into these verses, but like, I used to think you had to work out so hard and eat so well to lose weight. And it's like, genuinely, I thoroughly believe it's your self-concept. I was an athlete for a majority of my life and never could I get the number on the scale I wanted to. And out of nowhere, somehow now I am losing so much more weight than I ever did in the past. I'm older, which arguably people, "Oh, your metabolism's slowing down." Shut up. No, it's not. What it is people get defeated and they stop trying. They stop seeing that there's any hope because over a course amount of years, if not decades, they have judged themselves so much, and subconsciously they will get impressioned with the idea that nothing works that they try. So therefore they keep the weight on them. I'm very convinced of that. So I don't know, maybe it's hormonal, maybe it's whatever, but trust me, as somebody who really valued health and nutrition and being way ahead of the people that are talking now, being like, "Oh, Tylenol's bad for you," bro. Don't get me started. If I was to say that 10 years ago, which I was aware of because fortunately I was born in a family with, thank God, common sense, people be like, "Oh, you're crazy. You should trust your doctor." If you're just listening on audio, you need to see my eyes. You need to see my face right now. Trust your doctor? Hey, I went to 7 of them over a course of 8 years and none of them could fix me. Oh, but they have a degree. They should know better than I do. Come on. Like, yes, they know better. I don't mean to disrespect people, but there comes a point where you need to understand you have been your own problem this entire time. Okay, so wow, I went on a tangent. But here, again, going back to Kirjatharba, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. So, Kirjatharba, fourfold nature, Sarah dies there because she's integrating herself into Abraham's subconscious of understanding that, yes, I am the mind, body, spirit, and emotions. Hebron. Hebron means, sorry, I forgot, to join, to unite. When you essentially integrate your fourfold nature in your subconscious, you unite with yourself. You unite with your sense of self. Similar to Christ when he resurrects in heaven in permanence, I believe on Pentecost, right? That is him uniting with the Father. What that means is he went through an extensive amount of Canaan, or humbling, because Canaan in Hebrew means humbling. When you go through a process of humbling, understanding you're a God on earth, you unite with yourself because you no longer have a, what's it called? You're no longer angry. You're no longer resentful. You're no longer reactive. You see that the reason why you were those things was because you were a program. You woke up to your polarity and you united them, masculine, feminine, spirit, and mind. All right, verse 3, "And Abraham stood up from before his dead and spake unto the sons of Heth, saying, I am a stranger and a sojourner with you. Give me a possession of a burying place with you, that I may bury my dead out of my sight." So here, Abraham is speaking to the sons of Heth, asking, "Hey, I'm a stranger here. Can I please have a burying place so that I can bury Sarah here?" Right? If you take it literally, that's what they're saying. The sons of Heth are part of the lineage of Ham, and Ham is one of the 3 sons of Noah. There's Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Okay. And the sons of Heth, coming from Ham, represent the physical plane. Ham represents the physical plane, which correlates to you being bound to your 3D reality. Heth in Hebrew means fear. So you can see why the sons of Heth are connected to Ham, because Ham, again, represents the physical plane. And if you think that's all you are, then you're in bondage and you're a victim to it. But when you understand your inner world creates your outer world, now you're no longer a victim. Now you have power. But Ham and the sons of Heth aren't that archetype, right? They represent the mind. That's just what they do. They're not good or bad. It's just an aspect of your trifold nature, mind, body, spirit. Okay, so Abraham is speaking to the sons of Heth for a burying place. How I interpret this is Abraham is speaking to his inner masculine nature, his other thought processes, saying, hey, right, going forward as a human being, you need to make permanent room for something we're going to bury here, which isn't actual burying, it's integration. The mind needs to make room for the spirit because the spirit is getting buried in the subconscious. Sarah getting buried in the cave is allegory for you integrating your spirit into your subconscious, so it becomes the operative power of your mind when you're going out in your day-to-day reality, right? Let's say you have an issue with abundance, and typically you're like, oh my God, I'm so poor. No. You change that thought process, you take Sarah, you integrate her in your subconscious, and every day you wake up conscious saying, I'm successful, I'm abundant. Why is money so easy? Oh my God, money is so easy to make. And you live in the wish fulfilled. It's not just saying it, it's picturing you having it, it's feeling it, it's never contradicting it. That is permanent integration of your intention setting, right? It's becoming that character. Verse 5, and the children of Heth answered Abraham, saying unto him, hear us, my lord, thou art a mighty prince among us. In the choice of our sepulchres bury thy dead. None of us shall withhold from thee his sepulchre, but that thou mayst bury thy dead. So here the sons of Heth are saying like, yeah, no problem. You pick whatever you want to, however you want to bury Sarah, right? It says, in the choice of our sepulchres. Sepulchre is a place where you can bury somebody, the act of burial. The place of burial. So when the sons of Heth are being very generous, they're like, yeah, we have multiple options. You choose from what we currently have. Verse 7, and Abraham stood up and bowed himself to the people of the land, even to the children of Heth. What this means is Abraham is standing up, bowing himself to the people of the land, equal to the children of Heth, right? He's giving everybody respect, even if it's a thought construct like fear, which again are the children of Heth. Bowed himself to the people of the land. Who are all these people? Why are they watching and where did they come from? Why does this matter? You know, something just to point out in scripture, you're going to have random ass people showing up in this conversation you thought you had. And, you know, if you take it literally, it's kind of like me and you have a private conversation, then all of a sudden 15 people start going around us listening in. It's like, whenever does that genuinely happen actively? Like, and this happens multiple times in the Bible. So it's like, it's not that this is literally happening. When you genuinely look at it from a literal lens, it's very confusing and it doesn't make sense. So that's why I get kind of, you know, a little agitated that there really isn't questioning here about this like random setup. Again, going back to the whole timeline thing I said, if all of this is so perfectly relevant literally, why is it so haphazard? Why is it so awkward, right? So who are these people in the land? How I would look at this is it doesn't specify gender. So what I would assume about these people is that they are both feminine and masculine. And this is all happening within Abraham's psychology. When you're speaking to the sons of Heth, again, you are speaking to your mind and the rest of the inhabitants of your mind saying, where can I have place to bury the spirit? I'm seeking for place to bury the spirit here because it's very important that the spirit has the most power in this vicinity, meaning, again, the mind. So the sons of Heth are like, no problem. We're not going to resist that. You pick what you want. And Abraham is bowing himself to everybody, showing respect. Sorry if I said that already. But it's showing that Abraham is equal to them, not better than them. It's just showing that you're not fighting, right? Like, let's say you're trying to force manifestation. Typically, you get exhausted. You start like yelling at yourself, like indirectly. You get hard on yourself. You'll like snap at other people. This is Abraham completely aware of manifestation, just wanting to do permanent integration of the power he has within, knowing that he's a God on earth, and just sealing the deal. Being like, I'm not going to backpedal anymore. I'm never going to waver again. Let me just do this integration so I'm done with it, and I'll do it in the most peaceful, respectful way. Okay? Verse 8, and he communed with them, saying, if it be your mind that I should bury my dead out of my sight, hear me, and entreat for me to Ephron the son of Zohar, that he may give me the cave of Machpelah, which he hath, which is in the end of his field, for as much money as it is worth, he shall give it me for a possession of a burying place amongst you. Wowie wow. So very wordy. So, but essentially here what is going on is Abraham is going to get this cave from this guy named Ephron, and it's called the cave of Machpelah, which is located at the end of the field. And he has no problem offering money to this guy named Ephron. Because he just wants to do it right. He wants to do it correctly. For whatever it's worth, money is of no value because this has optimal importance over anything monetary, right? He's like, if this is about money, I could give a shit. The principle is I want to do this respectfully, right? So the reason why Abraham wants to speak to this guy named Ephron is because Ephron is the owner of the cave, right? And this cave is called Machpelah. Machpelah in Hebrew means folded. When something is folded in terms of your inner world, that means it's dual. You have a mind and a spirit, right? If Ephron is the gatekeeper of Machpelah, that means Ephron is the gatekeeper of your dual nature when in balance, right? Because when you're in balance, you have complete access to your subconscious. You're aware of your access to your subconscious because you know what your beliefs do to you. They create your reality. So when they're balanced out, it's easy to access. It's easy to create new beliefs. It's easy to install new visualizations because you know how to enter and when to leave, or when you want other ones to leave. Ephron means fawn-like or dust. And that's kind of cool because Ephron, one, being a man, so he represents the masculine nature. Again, another thought construct. He is the thought construct that will allow you to bring in subconscious beliefs or get rid of subconscious beliefs. He is fawn-like. When you look at a baby deer, they are so attentive and they're so aware. You can flash a light at a baby deer and it will stare at you for 5 hours, and as soon as you turn the light off, it'll stay there for 5 more hours just to make sure everything is okay. You know, a deer in headlights is a saying for a reason. Incredibly attentive, incredibly aware. Being dust-like or dusty, as another definition of his name, correlates to the concept of that, what's that verse in the story of creation? We are created from dust and then we will become dust, essentially, like explaining that the human process is very fleeting like dust, right? One minute you have it, 1 minute you don't, you blow it away. So the fact that Ephron represents the mind and he's the gatekeeper to the subconscious means that he is defined by these two words. He is an attentive guard to the material realm, right? Because the material realm is dust. Being attentive is fawn-like. When you are an attentive guard to the material realm, it means you discern what beliefs you want to take in from the material realm and bury in your cave, and which ones you will not let in. I'm going to spoil it for you, but Ephron is completely okay with having Sarah being buried in the cave. He originally was offering it for free, and Abraham didn't want to take it for free. He wanted to pay respectfully, and then that became the outcome. But it just goes to show the fact that Ephron said do not pay for it was because he's like, listen, you don't need to pay for a storage unit here. You know, this isn't some just kind of like half-ass visualization. This is the real deal. You want to do permanent integration of your spirit and your subconscious? It is free, baby. All right. This is the point of life. This is how you become a god. This is like you installing new hardware into your computer, right? You're just like, oh my God, I had the new, what's it called? Updated version of whatever. Now my computer's going to run smoothly. Okay. So let's see, did I miss anything here? Oh, something else to point out too, where this cave is at the end of the field. When it's at the end of the field, you can look at it in two different ways. On TikTok, I mentioned one way, but I'll mention both here. So when the cave is located at the end of the field, it means, again, one of two things, in my opinion. When you're on a field, think of how big it is. Think of how vast it is. And the cave, let's say the field begins here and the cave is here, okay? You have to do a lot of walking to get to the cave, okay? And on your spiritual journey, you have to do a lot of walking, rising and falling to get to this point in time. To really understand that you're the creator, even if it's as simple as manifesting a compliment, someone being nice to you, because you that day were being nice to yourself and you witness it, that is crazy consciousness playing out in front of you. That is amazing. And that is you walking the field. And every time you manifest correctly, you get closer to your subconscious. The closer you get, the closer you get, the sooner you will be able to integrate your subconscious in permanence with your spirit, because you've been practicing for such a long stretch of the field, right? Another thing to look at is, in your mind, to get to your subconscious, it's very vast, right? It's not that easy. In order to understand this stuff, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it, okay? But too many people are fighting about football and, whatever, other crap that doesn't really matter, because it's easy to distract yourself with something that doesn't require much focus. It keeps you safe, right? The ignorance is bliss is a great saying for that reason. But when you do the inner work and you see the fruits of your labor play out, you're like, I couldn't trade this for the world, this is way too crazy. With great power comes great responsibility, but there's also a lot of joy affiliated with it as well when you really see how this works and fine tune your power of attention. So when you get to that understanding of your sense of self inwardly as a God, you have this giant field in front of you, right? Because that's what it says. The cave is here and the field's all around. When Sarah's integrated in the subconscious, now you have this giant field to plant intentions, right? Neville Goddard would say something similar. He's like, plant the seed of your intention and water it by nurturing it, by living in the wish fulfilled, giving it your emotions, yeah? Baptism is just emotional purification, all right? That's why when you cry, when you're sad, you cry, because you're purging your emotions. You give yourself a baptism, right? Taking a shower makes you feel good. Something about the electric charge of having water on your body feels nice when it's running. It's just par for the course of allegory. Okay, so that is what that verse means. Then we have verse 10. And Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered Abraham in the audience of the children of Heth, even of all that went in at the gate of his city, saying, Nay, my Lord, hear me. The field give I thee, and the cave that is therein, I give it thee. In the presence of the sons of my people, give I it thee, bury thy dead. So here Ephron is saying, amongst everyone in the city or whatever, take the cave, Abraham. It's fine. You deserve it because you're such a master manifester, you. And I could dive into one thing in verse 10 that I thought was kind of interesting. Again, I made a TikTok on this to dive into it deeper, but here it says, and Ephron dwelt among the children of Heth, and Ephron the Hittite answered. If he's a part of the children of the Heth, why are you calling him a Hittite, right? It's the Bible will do this kind of stuff often. It'll name one person one thing and then name them something else and not really explain context. It's oh, this is a label for you. And it's no, if my name is Michelle, do not call me Jessica, right? If you want it to be practical and accurate, right? So it's why are you calling me two different things? When I looked into this, I saw that both Heth and Hittite had the Hebrew root word of fear. So both of these words mean fear. Ephron being called a child of Heth. When you think of a child, it's something very innocent. It's something very pure. In comparison, I would argue, to an adult, right? They are very ununderstanding of their actions. They're just there. They're existing. They're just conscious, even though their minds are developing and they're getting programmed from 0 to 7 years old. But their imagination is there, which makes them more godlike inherently. So when you're a child, you're closer to your inner world, your divinity, right? Your spirit, making you more innocent. Then you're called a Hittite, also meaning fear, which is another label to give somebody. So when I looked at this, I was like, interesting. You're called a child of Heth. Arguably, that would be your inner world. And then a Hittite, just being fear in itself, could be your outer world. So here, Ephron is known as two things. Also, again, alluding to dual, right? There's a dual nature to his labels he's given. Being a child of Heth is like you saying, I come from the lineage of, I also said this on TikTok, I am the daughter of Kowalski, right? A Polish man. But the lineage Kowalski carries significant cultural weight because we have our traditions, we have the village we grew up in, we have the way that we work and the way we think and the way we do things, right? It's very intimate, an intimate way to understand yourself. Then you have Hittite. It's like saying, oh, you're not just a Kowalski, you're just a basic Polish daughter, right? It is stripped of anything, of any intimate understanding. It is just a label. It is a public understanding of self. Children of Heth is a private, intimate understanding of self. And then just being called a Polish daughter is a public understanding of self. So again, being dual. Hittite being masculine, children of Heth being feminine. Arguably, it's just an observation. Because then you have characters like Jacob, right? And Jacob, he has two names. He's Jacob and he's Israel. And it's like, well, no, you're just one guy, right? And he's called those two different names because Jacob is the character that wrestles with God, not understanding God. What is this thing? What is this entity? Then Israel is the one that embodies God, that transcends his ego, that resurrects from his mind, right? It's like yin and yang. You can say like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. You can say Schmeagol and Gollum for the people that watch Lord of the Rings. Good and bad, even though that doesn't really exist. It's based on your judgment. But you see what I'm saying? Polarities, right? So just something cool to point out. Then we have verse 14, and Ephron, wait, is this right? Oh, wait, no, sorry, verse 12? I get screwed up. Yeah, verse 12. And Abraham bowed down himself before the people of the land, verse 13, and he spake unto Ephron in the audience of the people of the land, saying, but if thou wilt give it, I pray thee, hear me. I will give thee money for the field. Take it of me, and I will bury my dead there. So Abraham's like, listen, I want to respect you. I'm bowing down to you. If this cave has any monetary value, please let me give you the money that equates to the value of this thing that I'm purchasing. Verse 14, and Ephron answered Abraham, saying unto him, my Lord, hearken unto me. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver. What is that betwixt me and thee? Bury therefore thy dead. So betwixt is just a fancy way to say between. So he's like, okay, if you're going to pull my arm here, pull my leg, it's 400 shekels of silver. You know, like, it's so funny how he's like, nah, just don't, it's all good. Just bury your wife here. And he's like, all right, 400, pay up. This thing keeps falling apart, sorry. So what does that mean? You know, why 400 pieces of silver? Why not 350? And I'd argue that, sorry, this is so crooked. Nah, whatever, it's fine. That in scripture, numerology lends a hand to meaning, right? So it's not like these people are 100 years old for nothing. It's not like you pay somebody $400 because it just is monetary value and that's it. Like, everything has meaning when you really look into the symbolism of it. And it's consistent throughout scripture, really. So when you see the consistency, it's a little bit hard to deny when you look at it from a particular lens, being a mystic one, right? So 400 shekels of silver. Why is that important? For, again, remember that, was it Kirjatharba? That was city of the four. And before I brought up fourfold nature, right? So again, we have the repeated four here. Fourfold nature, then 0, 0. What could that possibly mean to you? So when you have 4, it means complete integration of your fourfold nature. Abraham was able to manifest Isaac. He was okay with letting him go, meaning detachment. God said, don't do that, it's fine. And now Sarah is permanently integrated into his subconscious, meaning he's buying out this cave. So when you show that you're detached from the physical plane, that you can manifest what it is you want, and you're honoring everybody so respectfully, being completely yourself, right? Being so, what's it called? Like authentic, you know, just being like, no, if it is this amount, let me give it to you. It's, what's this money between us? Like, it's not a big deal. Money isn't everything. What's important is respect. And I thought that was like, that is actually really beautiful here. Like, it's completely detaching from needing to look a particular way for people, just showing complete comfort with one's self-expression. And confidence is not too far off from conviction, and conviction in Latin means faith, where the English language derived from Latin. Well, it's Germanic language, but it's German, French, and Latin, and all those languages influence the English language to create the meanings of these words. So they lend a hand to one another. So when you have conviction and when you have confidence, that's essentially you being faithful to God, faithful to the God within you. So the land is worth 400 shekels of silver because Abraham was able to master his fourfold nature. And the 0, actually, I need water. I am so thirsty. 1 second. I'm sorry. Holy cow. I thought I could talk today. No. Like we're good, but just so thirsty. Anyway, sorry. So 0, what does that mean in context to you? When you have 0, think of binary code in the matrix, right? You have 1 0 1 0 1 0 0 1 1 0 1 0 whatever. And if you're like looking at that as not understanding mysticism and the power of symbolism, you'll just be like, wow, that's a whole lot of JavaScript, HTML. Like you're like, what's the point of this? You know, and it'll completely go past your line of thinking and like what you judge as important. But when you see 0 is symbolic of the womb, the feminine nature, because a woman, her private genitalia area is a womb, okay, it's a 0. And then you have the masculine genitalia, which is phallic, it is 1. You have the story of creation, because when you have 1 and 0, the 1 goes in the 0 and creates more 1s and 0s. Okay, so binary code isn't just like this computer technology, it's just basically showing how the story of creation is infinite, right? 1 0 0 1 0 0 0 1 0 blah, 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 blah. Like it keeps going on and on because humans keep going on and on. There's no end to us. People are multiplying like rabbits over here. So the 0 correlates to the womb. And when you have double 0, I would say what that means is 0, the first 0 is you testing yourself, testing to see what it is you can manifest. Can I really create somebody to, I don't know, give me a compliment? Would someone really compliment me today? I don't know. Well, how would I do that if I wanted to test manifestation? What I would do is I would tell myself, I'm so beautiful. People can't stop looking at me. Oh my God, I'm so gorgeous. Or if you're a man, holy cow, I am so handsome. Damn, how did I get to look this good? And you genuinely have to believe it. It sounds crazy. It sounds silly. It sounds narcissistic, but bear with me here. Because you doing this, and when you get a compliment from somebody who says, hey, nice tie, or did you get a haircut? It looks good on you. Or someone being like, wow, that dress looks beautiful on you. It's not because you physically changed anything. It's because the internal world is getting reflected back to you. Your new judgments towards yourself have no other opportunity but to show themselves to you through people, right? If you interact with people, they're going to tell you what you tell your inner world. Like I've done this to myself multiple times. In both directions, and I see it work out all the time. So it's like when you practice this is you having the first womb. This is you seeing for yourself how manifestation works. You're stepping into being a God, but it's not integration quite yet. It's not burying your spirit in your subconscious, because you constantly have to practice. You constantly have to remind yourself. You constantly have to show up and be like, this is my new way of life, right? I can't go back to being asleep. A virgin with their lamp on is somebody who has the holy chrism rolling down from their pineal gland to their spine, because chrism, the holy oil, when you're a virgin with your lamp lit, you're giving illumination to the oil in the kundalini process. That is an allegory for illumination. Then there's virgins with their lamps off because they don't know how to illuminate their holy chrism, the oil that goes down their spine when you're in meditation, understanding what I'm talking about here. Right? And there's 5 virgins on each side for a reason, because the 5 senses are symbolic of the number 5. So when you resurrect beyond your 5 senses, you are Jesus. That's why he has 5 points of contact. He's got his hands with holes in him, his feet with holes in him, and then the gash on the side with a hole in it. And then you have Lucifer, who is the fallen star, right? Who also has 5 points, right? It's the star, just has 5 points, and that's really it. And then you have the pentagram, and psychopaths will say, oh, that's Lucifer, that's worshiping demons. And it's like, Lucifer doesn't exist, and neither does Jesus. Like, Baphomet is a concept, the same as Krishna, the same as Buddha. All of this is just illusion, so you fear something. So you give your power away to something else because somebody else told you that thing existed. But if nobody told you that thing existed, would you have fear? No. And would it ever affect you again in your life? No, because your attention isn't on that thing to be scared of, right? So all of it is an illusion. Think Wizard of Oz. It's some creep behind a gigantic mirror we call the world stage, pulling some strings to I don't know, enslave humanity. Like, I don't know what the end goal is, but when you really see through it, it's like insane how crazy this story is. We were fed lies from the beginning. And I honestly think being a God on earth, like being able to manifest stuff, makes the people in power tremble, because they're like, oh shit, you're actually doing the thing that we're trying to force through satanic worship, because they do all these things to try to pretend that they're God, like they have interbred, what's it called, celebrities and things of that nature, if that really is true, because Baphomet's that way. And they're like, oh, this like goat demon is the thing we worship, and we sacrifice humans in blood and we drink that for him. And it's like, no, you're doing this because you're a psychotic human being, unhinged, and you want to belong to a community. You have been outcasted, you've been manipulated, and this is just the foundation of indoctrination. You are not special, you are not powerful, you are crazy and alone, and this is why you believe in this thing, right? Those are the elites, in my opinion. But when you wake up to understanding your consciousness within, you are a God without needing to believe in anything outside of you in that context. You don't have to sacrifice a human. You don't have to go draw a pentagram on the ground. You don't have to light candles and light Paul de Santo and like scream at the sun, you know, Jesus come back. Like none of it will do anything for you, genuinely. And maybe this is me just ranting and, you know, letting it all out, but it's like really all that matters in life is what you believe to be true. And the more you practice that for yourself, the more you will see it, and the more calm you'll have in your reality, because you see, right, I am the creator. And the more I genuinely dial in on my consciousness, I can create things I never thought I could, like Isaac, and I'll be willing to offer them to God or get rid of them because I see I was the one that created them in the first place. And when you have that kind of stillness, that is so peaceful. And being peaceful is incredibly powerful, because look how very few people are genuinely at peace right now. Right? Just saying. Okay. So 0 is you understanding that you're a God, needing receipts, constantly having to practice. 0, the other 0, the second 0, is permanent integration of you being a God, right? Not needing to constantly repeat mantras. You just knowing what it is, living in the wish fulfilled, and just letting it happen. It's no longer like questioning. It's no longer like really having to reaffirm like crazy. It's just you staunchly knowing. And that is when the spirit is integrated into your mind as its final resting place. Man, this thing keeps falling. Yeah, whatever. We'll risk it. So we have verse 16 now, and I think so, right? Yeah. We're at verse 16. And it says, and Abraham hearkened unto Ephron, and Abraham weighed to Ephron the silver, which he had named in the audience of the sons of Heth, 400 shekels of silver, current money with the merchant. So here, Ephron is weighing all this silver, and everyone in the audience is looking for whatever reason, because now they're a part of this discussion, like just very bizarre. But what I thought was very interesting is that this is current money with the merchant, right? Meaning it's a direct reflection of the merchant. When I saw that, I thought that was very interesting, because when it says current money, what that means is it's something that can be completely measured and balanced by the person taking it in, right? So Ephron is really, like, I don't want to say, it's not that he's doubting the weight of it, but when it's current with you, it's in alignment with you. I don't know really how else to say it, but think of it as like, I want to say like currency, not like the money, like cash flow, even though that does correlate to UCC codes and things of that nature. Like, what's it called? Like maritime water law. I'm not referring to that, but think of currency as a sense of just like equal exchange of energy, right? Like this was the perfect offer, 400 shekels of silver. I didn't touch on why it was silver, but I'll explain it now, maybe for better context to this point I'm trying to make here. So silver is very reflective, and it is so incredibly sheer and not like see-through, sorry, not see-through, but like pristine. Like it's very beautiful when you have such a solid piece of metal that has been cleaned and taken care of, and it shines directly back at you like a mirror. So silver correlates to your subconscious. Your subconscious, whatever your thoughts are in there, would directly get projected into the matrix and mirror back to you, right? So silver correlates to the concept of the subconscious, or the moon, right? Because the moon is the dark, and the dark is your subconscious, because you don't know what you're thinking until you're aware of it. And being aware of it is consciousness, is illumination, is light, is enlightenment, is gold. Okay, so you see how the sun is consciousness, illumination, because it's light, because you can see, which is why it's also gold. And then silver is the darkness, because darkness is the moon, and the moon is the subconscious, and you need the sun to illuminate onto your subconscious beliefs so you're aware of what you think. Okay, that's the dance between silver and gold. So silver is a really good reflection of what your subconscious beliefs are, and that's perfect currency with Ephron, because he is the gatekeeper of what you believe and don't believe in your subconscious. Because it's 400 pieces of silver, it's mastery of manifestation from having 2 wombs, right, 0, 0, and perfect integration of your fourfold nature. When you're in control of your mind, body, spirit, and emotions, no one else can control you. You're not susceptible to being manipulated or under mind control, right? And that's what like a lot of people are. Like, think politicians, regardless of what side you're on. These people will spew whatever side they believe into their microphones, and people at home watching it will receive it with the same hate. So then when these people go out in public and have conversations with their families and friends, and then someone else in the group brings up a topic they heard about the news, however that thought was programmed into them will be exactly how they express it, right? So if it was spoken to them from the news with hate and anger and disgust for the opposition, this person that heard it and now is in conversation with their family will reflect the exact tone, the exact hatred that they downloaded it from, right? If media spoke kindly, if media allowed other people to speak and not talk over other people, everyone else in society would be able to have a kind sharing of ideas. But because they're not the example, because they do not allow this to become people's subconscious programming, they do not want peace. They want people to hate each other. They want people to fight, because if we're hating and fighting one another, we will never know who they are, right? And I'm not talking right or left. I'm saying whoever owns the right and left, right? Because it's a very small few that own the entire world. All right, then we have verse 17. And the field of Ephron, which was in Machpelah, which was before Mamre, the field and the cave which was therein, and all the trees that were in the field, that were in all the borders round about, were made sure unto Abraham for a possession in the presence of the children of Heth, before all that went in at the gate of his city. And after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. And the field and the cave that is therein were made sure unto Abraham for a possession of a burying place by the sons of Heth. So here, basically what is going on is Sarah is finally getting buried in the cave of Machpelah. There's the final integration. Something that I thought was interesting in verse 19, where it says, and after this, Abraham buried Sarah his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. This verse is something I thought was very cool, and I'll end it here, because I mean the other verses, like, it's fine. It's just kind of repeating the same things we were talking about. But Sarah is now finally buried in the cave of Machpelah. Why do they say before Mamre? The same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. Like, what's with all these words again? Like, this was calling Ephron the son of Heth, but also the Hittite. It's like, just freaking pick. Why are you making it so wordy, right? So here I thought it was, again, very interesting. So what I'll say here is that, again, Machpelah means folded, and Mamre means to say, to speak, or to declare. So Sarah is the spirit which relates to whatever it is you want to create in your reality, right? You set an intention, you bury that in your subconscious. That is buried in your subconscious before Mamre. Again, Mamre means to speak or to declare. Before you want to speak something into existence, before you make it possible in your physical reality, you need to integrate it in your fourth dimensional realm first, right? On earth as it is in heaven. You can't have something on earth if it's not in heaven yet. So everything starts in Mashpelah. Everything starts when you understand your folded or your dual nature. And then once you understand that and you integrate what it is you want to believe, you can speak it into existence because you're speaking from that place of being that thing already or having that thing already. The same as Hebron in the land of Canaan. So Hebron again means to unite, and the land of Canaan means to be humbled. And then again, it's kind of referencing the same thing. It's like you have to be something before you show up as that thing, right? So being the same as Hebron in the land of Canaan means you have to unite yourself first before you genuinely understand the process of what it is you had gone through. Like understanding your spiritual journey, it can get very dark, and it's like so isolating. It makes you feel like almost like you're crazy. Like very few people will understand what I'm saying right now. Hopefully in like 5 years there will be a significant amount more. But you can like easily start resenting it. You can start not really liking it. But that's what makes you have to trust yourself and go within. That's why the spiritual journey is so isolating. Because if you had other people externally constantly validating you, there would be such little trust and bond you had with your internal sense of self. Like at the end of the day, really, the person you should trust most is you. When you know you've had your back the entire time, when you've been there for yourself the entire journey, doing all the legwork, doing all the trust, having undeniable faith for what it is you knew was your calling, and you did not let up. That's how you can really appreciate the humbling, right? That's how you can really appreciate Canaan. It's not an easy journey. Nobody likes to be humbled. Being humbled implies you have an ego that hasn't been put in its place yet. But when you're done with that process, I wouldn't trade anything to go back to being who I was before. I'd much rather be humbled, right? So that only comes when you finally unite and join from within. When you do the inner work, when you unite your mind with your spirit, you become whole. You appreciate the land of Canaan. You understand the whole process of Canaan and what it taught you, right? And arguably, I would say you probably wouldn't want to be the old person you were either anyway, right? It's funny, nobody wants to go through suffering, but that typically is what makes a life a lot more beautiful. I'm not saying you want to make it your day-to-day thing, but I'm saying pain is a very good catalyst for growth. And once it's served its purpose, you can just start enjoying life for what it is, because you recognize how much you really have. Even though it might not sound like much from another person's point of view, but being able to walk, being able to breathe, being able to go to bed and actually get a good night's sleep, these are things we constantly need to be grateful for. Very simple, but at the end of the day, truly, I mean, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything else. You can't enjoy your external environment if you feel like you're falling apart. So, and I guess that's where I'm making this more personal, because that was my life at one point. And you can manifest a lot of things, but remember the process of being humbled and where you once were. Know that life isn't really that bad. It could always be worse. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Let me know if you liked anything different, if you want me to comment more or comment less on certain things, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.